Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back to the channel. So I thought I'd put all the daily races into a single video from now on. So this is this week's daily races. Yes, it's probably going to be uploaded a little bit later. That's because I've kind of been busy doing other things in my life. Obviously my life doesn't revolve around YouTube as much as I love doing it. Sometimes you just want to kind of take time with your family, so you know, a few of these videos are a little bit I guess more delayed than they usually would be. So I thought, you know what, let's just compile them all together and you know, see what kind of happens as we take part in some daily races this week. Daily race A is using the BMW M3 from 2003. It has a false start check. Obviously I completely bottled it and had an awful start. As well as it allows tuning. It doesn't affect your driver rating or anything like that, so expect a lot of carnage and a lot of dirty drivers basically coming across this event and basically doing what they want. You can actually use the engine swap on the BMW M3. However, I kept the standard engine in and just did a few bits of tuning. Definitely requires a lot of throttle control in this car, and I would actually recommend having a little bit of traction control on. Usually I keep it off in most cars, however with how drifty and twitchy you know this car is, it definitely requires you know, a touch of traction. So after that absolutely disappointing start, you know, getting stuck with that basically time penalty for not doing the basically doing a false start, I decided that, you know, now's the time to kind of work my way up the grid, and that's exactly what I did. I didn't have an absolutely awful race. I pushed quite hard. This was pretty early on when this event first got kind of put into the game, so this was on Monday. So a lot of people kind of either didn't realize tuning was on or just wanted to get a quick taste. So there was quite a few cars that was just, you know, bog standard rented. I definitely wouldn't recommend renting this car. You can pick it up for really cheap from the BMW dealer. I would recommend getting some, you know, tunes on it. I may actually try and make a tune later on in the week. It just totally depends if I have time to do it. And basically, you know, get a decent tune going. This definitely wasn't a perfected tune. It was very quick, especially in a straight line, and it was quite quick through the corners as well. But I could really do with, I guess, getting a bit more rear end downforce and basically getting the car to stick a bit more. I know it's not going to be perfect because this car suffers from basically what all road cars do in Gran Turismo 7, which is an absolute lack of traction. If you have it off in the slightest, it's an absolute nightmare, and it requires constant throttle control, and you find yourself basically fighting with road cars constantly. So I'm kind of thinking maybe run at, I'd say 1, maybe 2 traction, and definitely try and get the downforce at the back running. I believe you're limited to about 394 brake horsepower, which isn't too much more than standard. However, it does make a good difference. I believe weight's around about 1200 kilograms, maybe a little bit less. It might be about 1100. So I think I've got like 2 stages of weight reduction on this car. You can definitely feel it. It feels a lot more agile than I'd say the more bulky standard model. So basically, I mean, all these, you know, big wings and diffusers and such are definitely more functional than they are for looks. Personally, I absolutely hate the look of them on these cars, especially without the wide body and such. I think it looks a little bit, you know, silly and a bit out there. I much prefer the look of a, you know, a clean looking M3 from this generation. However, I wanted the parts on so I can get them to kind of function properly and do what they're kind of made for, and they did actually kind of help. I noticed, you know, a lot of, when I've kind of ran this event, people running the more standard car are definitely more prone to, you know, getting the back end out and spinning around and such. I did actually run the engine swap version, however I was running my Le Mans tune, but just down tuned slightly, so it was very sort of not set up for this track, and there's a lot of elevation changes, a lot of camber and such, and it just really did not like it. It was basically, you know, going sideways through every corner, and I spent more time just showing off drifting than I actually did racing. So again, if you do go down the engine swap route, which I believe is from the Z4 race car from days gone, I would definitely again recommend you know, just getting some aero on the car and trying to bring as much downforce as you possibly can to the car to basically just make it as stable as possible. I do believe that the engine swap version may be faster. I'm not 100% sure. Definitely in a straight line, I was absolutely hammering time out of the other cars when I used the engine swap version. However, it's quite a twisty track, like I said, with a lot of kind of off-camber corners and elevation changes. So by the time I got to the corners again and I was, getting the back end out, I was definitely losing a whole bunch of time. As you can see, we've got Arkies up here in first. He basically just dominated the whole session, no problem. I believe he ended up winning by like 15-20 seconds. Me personally, I was again just sort of jumping in this one to kind of see what it was about, and actually got a decent clip from just kind of charging back through the field. However, you're going to see later on I'm going to have a bit of a lapse in concentration, and it's actually going to cost me a position. If not, I believe I would have come out P2. There was no way I was catching P1, so I was definitely kind of on for P2, but it was down to my own silly little mistake that I basically, ruined my race, really. I believe we're going to come out P3 in the end, so it's not really that bad, considering the awful start I had. But then again, I'm not up against, the most competitive machinery. We've got a couple of guys, hanging out towards the front in, bog standard M3s, doing a pretty damn good job, to be honest. They were quite clean. They were quite, happy to race side by side with me without, throwing each other in the barriers. Which is always good to see, especially in these, kind of non-driver rating and sportsmanship rated, it has no effect on it. You kind of, worry about the, I guess, standard of competitors you're going to get. But this lobby, especially towards the front end, seemed quite happy to, race clean and just race properly, even though there's nothing really on the line in terms of, penalties and getting dropped and docked your driver rating. So yeah, it was pretty good, very enjoyable. As you can see, we're going on to lap 4 here, and I've just made a move into second, and then we're going to use that much faster top end speed and acceleration to basically pull away at this point. I know the guy in fourth, I believe he started on pole by quite a long shot. Most of us didn't actually have any qualifying time on the board. I know I didn't. So I was like starting down the the back end of the grid. However, I believe he's Russian in fourth place did have a good qualifying lap and a very powerful car. Just a few mistakes around the first few laps costing him, and he's doing basically the same as what I'm doing, which is charging through the grid. So I knew he was a threat because I could see when we got onto the more straight sections, it was really starting to take time out of me. And then I believe it's going to be here where I'm actually going to make my mistake for the race, and this is where it's going to kind of cost me basically second place overall. As you can see, I've just sort of gone a bit too deep in there, touched the grass, and we're going to get the rear end out and basically going to have to recover again. I do think if the race would have kept going, I could have possibly got second place back, but I know at this point I'm a bit frustrated at what I've done, knowing it's completely my own fault. Nobody else has caused that for me. So now I know I've just got to try and get these couple of positions back. But I can see the BMW now in second, really starting to pull away. And that's where his advantage mainly laid, in the fact that he could really just start pushing on those straights. And, the acceleration on that thing was absolutely insane. I'm unsure if he was actually using the engine swap model. I didn't really take note of the engine sound. So I don't really know if he was or wasn't running the engine swap. However, like I said previously, that engine swap is very, very quick in a straight line, and I feel like that probably is the way to go. It's all about kind of just getting that tune there and perfecting it, because I feel like if you get a perfect engine swap tune and you've got a spare engine laying about, just go for it. I feel like you'll absolutely dominate this event for this week. I know a lot of people don't run daily race A purely because this seems to be the one where it's not going to affect your rating and it's more sort of tuning available. Now a lot of people like to run tuning events, but I know a majority actually don't, and they prefer the balance of performance, GT races that we have. And I'm probably in that category as well. I much prefer more race car orientated races, and I just find them more fun and a bit more competitive. Whereas here, if people get a tune wrong, or you keep running it, try and get your tune right, you'll find yourself either kind of sat around at the back or making silly mistakes while you try and learn the car, or you'll kind of get a much more spread out field, which, as you can see here, the field's very kind of spread out. There's sort of a group behind me. I mean, first place is completely gone, so shout out to Orkies. I've raced with him a couple of times, and then you can see we've got sort of our, I guess, front running group, and then towards the back it's just really, you know, spread out. So it's kind of like hit and miss with these events. Sometimes they're really competitive, sometimes they're not. I absolutely loved last week's one at Mount Panorama or Bathurst, whichever you kind of want to call it. I'm not probably, you know, the biggest fan of this event, but I can actually see, you know, it being a lot of fun, especially if you get, like I said, the perfect tune going with a good engine swap and kind of get that balance right. I feel like you'll have a ton of fun with this. However, people that aren't into, you know, tuning or road cars, I would probably recommend you give this one a miss this week. Like I said, it's probably the least important one of the week. Daily Race A pretty much always is. Again, it's, you know, not going to move you up the driver rating, so no matter how good you do, you're not really going to go anywhere. And you do kind of get a, like I said, it's, you know, it's no offense to people that run Daily Race A, but you kind of get a lower class of opponents no matter what. You find yourself kind of mixed in with a bit of everything, and it's usually where the more dirty drivers kind of, you know, get together to you know, take each other out. But, you know, we're going to take P3 podium position with no qualifying and that awful start, so I'm quite happy with that. I do feel like I was definitely on for P2 though, but it was kind of nice to, you know, keep pushing till the end, even though I couldn't quite get that position back. So that is Daily Race A. Quite fun, but it might not be everyone's cup of tea. Now, this is definitely a fun event. This is Daily Race B. It's a Group 4 event, and it takes place on the Glen, an absolute awesome track, and I'm so happy this thing came into Gran Turismo. Watkins Glen has always been a bit of a favourite for me in other racing games. I believe this is the first time it's ever appeared in Gran Turismo. It's definitely been a worthy addition. You know, if they're adding tracks like this, I can't wait to see where they're going to go in the future. I just definitely feel like we need, you know, a lot more of them, because, you know, tracks like this really do kind of complement Gran Turismo, and these Group 4 cars are definitely no slouch. I feel like this has kind of been surprisingly the race where I've been caught out with dirty drivers. I feel like every run I was getting in, I think it took me about 5 runs just to get a decent clip, and I was just basically just getting taken out, dive bombed, rammed into, was sent to the Shadow Realm, all that good stuff. And one of those, you know, culprits of doing that to me was this guy in front, GTB Philip GT31. I'm not gonna lie, mate, you're a bit of a muppet. I will actually I did record it. I will actually start doing a show basically on this channel called Idiots of the Week. I know it's kind of around, a lot of people kind of do it and like to showcase dirty driving in Gran Turismo, and that's kind of something I want to do. I feel like I'm running into more and more of these kind of drivers each week, and it's definitely getting a frustrating experience online. I feel like GT Sport was a much cleaner kind of penalty and racing system, so yeah, I don't really know what's going on with GT7. It just seems to attract a bunch of unsavoury people, should we say, and this guy that's now running in 4th is definitely one of them. However, he's actually not going to be that bad in this race. I did kind of complain to him in the previous race, and when I saw that I was starting behind him, I thought, oh no, here we go again. So the meta car this week at Watkins Glen is definitely the GTR. It seems to be outright the fastest. However, you can see here I'm using the Alpha 155 purely because I just enjoy using it. Sometimes I do like to run the meta cars if I want to be, you know, insanely quick. However, I felt really comfortable driving the Alpha, knowing that I'm going to be, you know, a lot slower on the straights. However, as long as I can keep it clean throughout the, you know, the tight and twisty turns, or, you know, some of the medium speed corners, I could really sort of make time up. Just purely because I just feel like the Alpha is very good with how it controls through corners. So I did do a couple of runs in the GTR, and I found that, you know, running in slipstreams and such, I was much quicker than any Alfa Romeo, or there was a lot of the Genesis in the race as well. And I found that, you know, in a straight line speed, and when I'm running in slipstreams and stuff, I was much quicker in the GTR in the straight line. So I know a lot of, you know, how I've been driving has got to kind of change when using that Alpha. This was actually my first run in the Alpha, and it's been sort of my go-to now each and every time I've gone into this race. So I was basically just thinking, right, I've got to change up how I'm going to drive. I've got to go more defensive and kind of take advantage of accidents. And I actually had a whole heap of fun. Now it's going to be quite sort of, I guess, more laid back event, but that's purely because a lot of the, like I said, the races that I've done previously have been absolute carnage and a nightmare. As you can see, the guy in front of me has got a, I believe it would have been a track limits penalty. So I'm now catching him, and now I'm really wary of what I'm supposed to do, because I feel like if I attempt to overtake him, he's going to remember who I am, and he's going to try and basically just take me out again. So I'm thinking, right, I'll hold back, I'll, you know, try and time sort of my move to perfection, but it's kind of going to be a bit frustrating if he takes me out yet again. Obviously I usually do get like pretty much the first couple of races I do as a clip, just to kind of, you know, because I'm not really bothered about, you know, doing the best race or posting a win or anything like that. It's more to kind of show off the events. However, I was just so frustrated with dirty drivers that I, you know, wanted to keep going and get at least a decent clip, because if you just see me getting taken out the whole race, it's not really going to be enjoyable. So I'm going to be a bit more aggressive with this guy here, because I know what he's been like in the previous event, and I'm kind of not too bothered if I kind of run him wide or run him off. And that's kind of the main thing I wanted to do, was basically just give him a penalty, or kind of cause him to run wide, or, you know, run myself wide. So if I go onto the curb and get a, you know, nearly get a track limit penalty, hopefully he'll overdo it and give himself a penalty. So I wasn't really too bothered. I just wanted him out of my way. As you can see there, he's going to try and go around the outside, and it's kind of just caused me to just mess up my braking. However, we've got through without a penalty. That was kind of a bit my fault. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of just thinking, right, this guy's going to turn into me, I'm going to go in the barrier, so the only thing I can do is just take this run off. And as I've kind of, you know, gone for the brakes, it's basically sort of shot the car into a wobble. You can really run track limits here, but it's really sort of a fine line on some of the points of the track. Now through that sort of, you know, right, left, right part, it's like really quick, and you can really cut a lot of the corner without getting a penalty. But then sometimes people will cut it even less than you just have, and they'll get a penalty. It's really weird how it works. However, I find the worst part of the track for penalties is actually that first corner, that right-hander. If you go just a little bit over that curb, you are going to get a penalty. And that was kind of my sort of thing that I wanted to do for, you know, GTB Philip here. I kind of wanted him to, you know, follow me, because I'm thinking, right, he's definitely going to be having the slipstream and a pace advantage down the straights. But if I can sort of make myself go a little bit deep into the corner and still manage to get myself around, I mean, I knew it was risky. But basically I knew if I could do that, as you can see I'm trying to break slipstream here, then he's basically just going to get a penalty, and I'm going to get a bit of breathing room. And it actually did work, and I believe it's just here, I actually forgot to look back in my replay, sorry, where I'm just going to make it. He's going to run wide, and I believe he got half a second penalty. He did drop back a bit, I believe, and it basically just gave me the breathing room I needed. But now I'm thinking, right, he's got a penalty, so is he going to think, you know, I'm not bothered anymore, I'm just going to go straight into the back of you? So I was kind of thinking, right, what do I do? You know, have I got a better run out here? Can I just avoid trying to break slipstream and just get it through the corners, get to that penalty area, and then basically just crack on with my own race? As you can see, we're flying over the curbs here. It really, you know, when the car does that, it really gives me sort of touring car vibes from way back when. Obviously, this is originally a touring car, so it's kind of awesome to see them, you know, fly off the curbs like that. And you know, to not actually get, you know, track limit penalties there, it definitely kind of makes it look absolutely awesome, knowing that you can just do that race in, race out. So at this point I'm actually starting to take some time out of third place, and I'm thinking, do you know what, this race hasn't been too bad. At first I was thinking, right, this is just a really dull race, nothing's happening, but I'm starting to see that I'm taking time away from third place, and I'm getting quicker and quicker by lap. Now I believe this is the part where GTB Philip is actually going to drop back a bit, so I've got a bit of breathing room here to basically do my own thing. As you can see, there he goes. He's now in 6th, and he's going to have to battle with someone else. So I know them two are kind of caught up. I've got a bit of breathing room, and now it's all about just trying to get them faster laps in, and you know, try and, I guess, catch third place and try and get myself on the podium, as I know I've only got a lap to go. And it's actually not the longest track round here, it actually flies by. when you're doing this event. It's really enjoyable, I'm not going to lie. The combination of cars and just the track in general, it's such a pleasant place to drive, and a good looking track. So it definitely flies by, and you'll find yourself having a whole ton of fun. This is definitely the best Group 4 event we've had for a long time. But as you can see, I'm sort of starting to drop back because we've hit the straight areas, and I'm thinking, right, I'm just not going to get anywhere near that podium position. However, at the end there's going to be a bit of a surprise. I'm not going to spoil too much, but there is going to be a bit of a surprise in the last few corners, or should I say like the last, I guess, quarter of the track. So at this point I'm basically just cruising around, not thinking much is going to happen, but I'm still kind of trying to push and just see if anything can happen. Like last week, if you guys have seen that video, in Daily Race B I took the most unexpected win I think I ever have in Gran Turismo 7, and it's kind of shown me never give up, because it's not over till the fat lady sings. And it's definitely true with Gran Turismo 7 in the online mode. It kind of can all happen in the last corner. If you see some cars battling and you're kind of hanging back, then maybe you can take the win, and that's kind of what happened last time. The car in front must have had a track limit penalty, because now all of a sudden I'm on the back of him, and now I'm thinking, do you know what, there is actually a chance for me to get a podium here. So I'm just going to push as hard as I can, and I'm actually going to keep it really clean through here, and definitely be the fastest car in this last, I guess, quarter of the track. He's basically in defensive mode, basically panicking a little bit, knowing that he could lose a podium here. He's actually going to keep it nice and clean though. But we're going to go through this corner. I'm thinking, do you know what, I really am on the back of him. I've got the run through here, I've took it nice and clean. I'm thinking if I can just get myself on the inside and get the run out, I can do it. But it's just going to use the car as a bit of a barrier, and he's just going to manage to hold it off. So it was really an awesome end to this race. So that is Daily Race B. Definitely an enjoyable race. One of the best Group 4 races we've had for a long time. And welcome to Daily Race C, another absolutely awesome event. I'm loving the races this week. They're definitely fun. The BMW one being, I guess, the weakest of the three, but the GT4 and the GT3 events are definitely, a whole heap of fun. As you can see, I did no qualifying for this event. This is my first run here, and I actually found myself having huge amounts of fun. This is at Kyoto Driving Park. I believe it's called the Yamagawa layout, so it's basically the long one. And it's a 12-lap event. It takes around about 20 minutes. I definitely had fun doing this one, and this was definitely, my race of the day. I found myself just absolutely loving every second of it, all sorts and everything happening. And with it being such a long race, I knew I could probably, make up some time, even from P14. As you can see, I've slapped that curb, battered the car, and now I'm actually taking some damage. So my steering is really off, and I'm now down in last, and I'm thinking, do you know what, this is just going to be a nightmare. I had so much hope for just going up through the grid, which is some of the most fun you can have in online, but obviously I've slapped the wall, and now I'm thinking, do you know what, I'm just going to end up hanging back here. But it just goes to show to never ever give up, because anything can happen, especially in these longer races. We have a yellow flag out. It's a Volkswagen Beetle just cruising around. I'm not sure what happened there, but we're already up now back into P14. So we're back where we started, I believe, as we've got now a Mercedes going wide, and we're going to move up another position. That is now 2 positions gained since dropping back to last, as we're coming round to finish the lap. As you can see, there's a couple of cars off there, and that Mazda's actually going to be another dirty driver, so I may just show off kind of what his antics were. He was a bit of a muppet, but as you can see, he just blocked me off there, so I've ended up in the back of him. Kind of my fault, kind of his fault. But we're up another position, so we're P12 at the end of lap 1, and this is what I mean by the Mazda. It was just dirty driving constantly as he tried to take out the BMW there. I'm not actually going to have issues with the BMW, I don't think so. But this Mazda, I'm sort of, kind of thinking, do I go for the move, or should I just kind of sit back and let him, make his own mistake? Because people like this usually do. If you're worried about overtaking someone because they're dirty, just give it, you know, a couple of minutes and you can guarantee they'll take themselves out. As he's again ramming into the BMW there. I'm going to try and get down the inside. The BMW, I think that was completely unintentional. I didn't get a penalty for that. I was sort of down the inside in the open gap, and you know, he's kind of gone off there with a double tap. Nothing intentional from either of us. For me, that's just a racing incident. I don't think he kind of noticed I was there, and at the same time, obviously, I've just gone for a gap, and I'm pretty well alongside him at that point. He should have just left a bit of room, but you know, with some of the cameras in this game, it's a bit difficult. So yeah, my bad to the BMW there. Nothing intentional, and I don't think he was trying to take me out. I think he was just, you know, sort of left hanging after the Mazda basically tried to ram him straight off the track. So again, I'm behind this Mazda. I'm thinking, right, I've got to run here. I'm just going to go for it because maybe I've just got the advantage, and I'm going to go down the inside. But I know he's going to try and do a cutback here. But I'm thinking, is he going to try and ram me? So I'm down the inside. I'm pushing on forward, and I'm hoping at this point that Mazda isn't going to try and overtake me again, and I can catch the rest of the pack. But there he is. He's going to basically try the same with me, try and, you know, spin me around. It's not worked out for him there, but I believe we're actually going to see him again pretty soon. So I'm kind of, you know, putting my eyes forward at this point. I know I've got the Mazda behind me who's going to, you know, cling to me and try what he can. As you can see, Red here in the Mustang, he actually started at the back with me, so we're both basically pushing up through the field. He actually had quite an, you know, an awesome race. There's a yellow flag out, and I'm not actually quite sure for, you know, what for. I didn't really go through the clips, as the Mazda is going to get the run on me, as we've got a, you know, this is a Supra that caused the yellow flag. And I don't know if the Mazda was going to go for the ram there, but he kind of got ghosted, as the poor Supra is going to get sent flying. We're going to go up the inside of the Mazda, try and get past, clear him again, and he's not actually took us out there, so we were just hoping for the best, and hoping it's not going to come back to bite us, as Red runs a little bit deep there, as we're, you know, trying to again make our way up the grid. We're now in P8, so I'm definitely making progress from that awful start, and really apart from that collision with the BMW, we've had a pretty decent race, sort of stayed out of trouble, even while everyone else just basically hits each other. And it's the same for Red here. He's had a really good run so far. I did feel like I was definitely faster than him. In fact, I felt like I was really on par with the, you know, main pace of the race, and I believe my fastest lap was only like, you know, not even a tenth of a second off of the fastest lap in the end. So it was definitely, you know, pace-wise, this, you know, Genesis is definitely, you know, really quick. I would actually recommend the Supra for this event. It's definitely, you know, still the meta, and it's still a very fast car. It definitely suits this track a lot more than it does some others, although it's pretty much fast everywhere. Sometimes it just feels like a bit off. However, around here the Supra definitely feels quick, and again, you know, like I've said, this Genesis just feels brilliant pretty much anywhere it goes. So at this point I'm closing the gap to Red, and I'm hoping to get on the back of him soon. As you can see, he's having a, you know, a fairly good race. He's keeping it clean, he's keeping his nose out of trouble, and he's basically pushing on. That's kind of a car I would love to kind of, you know, basically get around to using online, is the Mustang. I've been meaning to for ages. I absolutely love the look of it and the sound of it, but I've never really got around to actually racing it in a Group 3 race. But I do absolutely just love the way it looks on the grid. The M6, that's also quite prominent in this race. It seems to be very fast, but I've never been the biggest fan of that car. Red's going to make his first mistake, and I'm thinking, right, where am I going to go? I'm going to try and take it on the cutback. However, he's going to very well defend that, as we've got another yellow flag and a car spinning all the way around. It's another Supra, this time being the more modern model. So again, we're now up to P7, and we're right on the back of Red here in his slipstream, as he's going to go a little bit deep there. I'm going to try and keep it on the inside. We're going to try and keep it nice and clean with him, and try and get the slipstream up this hill, where it's really twisty, really fast, and any touch of that curb is going to send you absolutely flying. As you know, Red's doing a decent job here. He's managed to, you know, pull away a bit, as we can see a little bit of scrapping up ahead between what looks like a Super Silhouette and an M6. I'm again, you know, catching up to them quite quick. Both myself and Red are, as we're right on the back of Red now. We're going to pull out wide, and we're going to try and get down on the inside of this corner here. He's going to keep it nice and wide. I'm not actually planning to take him out at all. I think he's just a bit on edge from, you know, all the chaos around him. But it's as if he sort of gave us that position, and we're now up through into P6. So we've definitely made a decent, you know, bunch of progress in this first half of the race. As you can see, we're now pretty much on the back of the M6 and the Skyline Super Silhouette, which had been having a bit of rough and tough for the last lap or so. It's looking like the M6 has got a decent run there on the Super Silhouette. We're kind of just hanging back, seeing what's going to happen. The M6 is down the inside. It's going to touch the Skyline. The Skyline's going to wobble wide, and the M6 is through with a bit of, you know, putting its elbows out there, as we're going to get a slipstream off of the Super Silhouette. But the Super Silhouette is also getting a slipstream off the M6, so it basically nullifies any advantage we would have gained. The Super Silhouette and the M6 both going a bit deep there. It's looking like the Skyline's going to get the better run out, and it's going to get the slipstream up the hill, as we're also going to get a slipstream again on the Super Silhouette. We're getting closer and closer to Teddy here, so we're not sure what he's going to do. We're not sure if he's a clean racer at this point. I've not kind of seen him throughout this event, as it's looking like we may be able to get a run, but I'm just going to kind of stick to the back of him and basically try and get him on the run down the hill. As are we going to get a better run out? Are we? Ooh, yeah, it's a decent run. Now we're still in the slipstream. We are going to try and get the move done here on the inside. Are we going to manage it? Whoa, the Super Silhouette just cutting us off there. We nearly lost the back end there, but managed to catch it. And that's going to, you know, basically bring us all back together, as the Super Silhouette is sticking to that M6, and we're basically staying very close to the Super Silhouette here. So good racing by Teddy there, really nice defending. It was aggressive, but not too aggressive, and that's kind of, you know, the way I like to race is, you know, be aggressive, but don't purposely take each other out. If accidents happen, I can kind of understand that, as he's all over the back of the M6, but he's going to get a bit of a, you know, poorer run out there from trying that move there. We're going to get up the inside. The Super Silhouette's really wide there, but it's looking like he's going to get a better run out as we twitch, but he's going to go onto the grass, and that is it now. He's going to drop back, lose another position, and we're now up into P5, chasing down the M6 here of Willie 1963. Obviously, we've seen that he can be a little bit aggressive. He's gone really, really deep there, as we're getting a nice run out, and we're going to get into that slipstream here. As you can see, we're sort of just chasing him around, chasing him, and we're gonna get the run out of here, as we've got a little bit deep there, and we're gonna get back into his slipstream as we go down the hill for this big long left-hander. And let's see if we can get the move done through this part of the track. We're getting again a nice clean run out, but the M6 also getting a decent run, as we're now in the slipstream and we are catching. I think I'm going to be a bit too far back here to make a move. We are, so I'm just going to kind of follow what he does and see if he makes any mistakes, as these curves can really catch you out. Definitely a place to kind of lose the rear end there, as we've almost done the previous lap. So very close racing here with the M6. I'm kind of thinking, you know, do I go outside, do I go inside? I'm going to try and get that cut, you know, that cut back on him here, and it's just not going to work out. You know, M6 is a big car to try and overtake, as we're also now catching up to P3, and I believe that's a Supra just up there. So we're both kind of pushing each other along and starting to catch this Toyota Supra in P3. So I'm not sure if he's, you know, had a problem or spun out or anything. As the M6 now clipping the grass there, he's going to lose a bit of traction. We're going to try and get a run on him here. We're right behind him. We're pretty much on his bumper. We're going to try and time it right and pull out of it. We are going to get alongside him, but that M6 is very quick in a straight line. I'm going to think, do I keep it wide? He's, you know, defended nicely there. Made sure I've had to go the long way, but we're going to try and get the cut back again on him here. We're going to get the run. We're going to get the slipstream. What's going to happen here? Oh, where we're going to go? I'm sort of braking. I'm you know, trying not to do the overtake there. It's probably one of the worst places you can be caught out. A lot of people don't realise you're there, and accidents do happen there. But we've kind of dropped back a bit here, obviously after, you know, having to tap the brakes. But I find this place is definitely a good place for overtaking. If you do get a really good run off of that big long left-hander, as you go downhill, you can really get a move done into this corner here and get yourself across the curb and get through cleanly, like you've seen me do. So basically, at this point, we're really catching that Supra, and the gap's sort of going down bit by bit each lap we go around. So even though we're battling, we're still managing to take time away from that Supra. This is the closest that Supra has been to us. So I'm hoping that we don't kind of get caught up too much. You know, if I was to get on the podium here, I'd had an absolutely amazing race. But, you know, we'll kind of see what happens towards the end as we're in the final third of this race. We're about 13 minutes in. It's definitely been an entertaining one. I've really loved it here. As you can see, traction's starting to become a bit of a problem. Luckily, we don't actually have to pit stop or refuel. The tyres it gives you and the fuel amount it gives you is good enough till the end. So it's basically just flat out, you know, endurance / sprint racing. So it's a longer event, but you can still go as quick as you can. As a BMW is going to go really wide there. And we're going to get alongside him here. We're on the inside. I'm trying to give him room, but he's basically just going to nudge us off here. As I'm onto that curb, he's just again gave no room. If he'd have stayed wide there, he'd have been absolutely fine. And again, there was no intention there to, you know, hit him. I'm actually not going to receive a penalty. But if he'd have just kind of stayed wide, that wouldn't have happened. If you do get nudged onto that curb and you basically go into someone, a lot of the time it's basically not your fault. The car kind of does its own thing. If I'd have gone onto the grass, I'd have still hit him. There was no way of basically escaping that with him at that angle. If he'd have just kind of gone around, he'd actually kept the place. But that accident's now basically cost us both. He's basically just gone down the order, and we basically fell back from the Supra. So again, it's just, you know, kind of a case at this point in the race is to basically try and take as much time off that Supra as possible. As we can also see another car up in, I believe that's P2, you know, starting to show himself now. So I'm about over 2 seconds slower this lap, you know, than my best. That accident really, you know, really costing me. And at the end of the day, yes, I'm kind of sorry for going into him. But if you're not going to leave room and you're going to try and force me sort of onto the grass and such, I mean, I don't know what you expect. These, you know, cars aren't made for running on the grass. So if you're going to put me there or try and put me on the curb where it sort of bounces you over it, because they're quite big curbs here, then I don't really know what you expect me to do. Especially, you know, with a weird thing about Gran Turismo is like if you hit, your car sort of goes floppy for a second. I don't know if you guys kind of noticed that, and you do kind of lose control for a little bit. So yeah, I mean, you know, accidents happen. You should have, you know, in my opinion, you should have kind of just give room. If you'd have, you know, you've made that contact with me at first when I'm alongside you, you should have realised I'm there. So if you know, you just go a little bit wider, you could have kept your position, and we could have fought it out another lap. You know, I've already backed out of one move round there. You know, but if I'm completely alongside you, there's no way I'm just gonna slam my brakes on, because you never know what's going to happen or who's behind you at that point. But I didn't receive a penalty, so, you know, I'm going to take it. That accident is not my fault. You've basically just put me in that position to basically end up into the side of you when I've got little control over the car. But it is what it is. We are still basically surviving, and the BMW has come off worse. But if you're going to try, you know, try them things on me, it's not going to go well. Let's be honest, it's not going to go well for anyone if you're side by side through there and you don't leave room. I'm more than happy to race side by side with anyone, as long as there's, you know, there's room. You know, you can be in the tightest part ever. I don't mind it. If you're going to get alongside me, I'll leave you room, even if it's kind of an awkward place like that can be. Again, like I said, in my opinion, it's just about, you know, just leaving space really for each other. So we're still P4. We're starting to drop back a little bit. It's almost as if the pace is starting to die out in these final couple of laps. The leader absolutely just gone at this point. The Belgium here, as you can see him on the track map, he's already into that left-hander at the bottom of the hill. So he's had a really clean race. And I think with all the chaos around him, he's just sort of stayed out of it. Shout out to Red, by the way. He's done a decent job there. with how he's raced. Like I said, he's also started at the back, so he's gone from P15 to P8 at this point, with a bunch of absolute clowns in. I'm not going to lie, there's some pretty dirty drivers in this lobby. So to be able to kind of survive into P8, he's done a great job there in the Mustang, which isn't basically renowned for being very competitive in the higher ranks of racing. You're pretty much forced into using some of the more meta cars, or a car that you're very, very comfortable with. So to kind of get the Mustang up into the top half is very, very good. As he's actually dropped back a bit now, so the commentator's curse, I guess. Michi is obviously the one in the RX-7, which seemed to want to just take everyone out. So I'm not really going to say what I want to say, but yeah, you don't deserve to be up there. But yeah, I mean, these front three here, as you can see, really clean racing, really fast, and ever since that accident, they've both kind of extended their gap. But that lead, I mean, looking at the track map and seeing where he is, he's had an absolutely awesome race. No problems there for him. So well done to him. It's always great to obviously get a win, especially in these longer races. Everything can happen, and sometimes you'll start out really well and you'll just go on to dominate. I mean, I've had it before where I've been quite high up the grid in a longer event, and I've gone on to basically dominate the whole thing, and really have a whole heap of fun doing it. It can sometimes get a little bit lonely out there, but it's always good to kind of get a win, especially while everything else kind of goes off in the background. But we're coming around the last few corners here. We're going to actually take P4 in the end, so I'm really happy with that. From P14, that's up 10 positions. Even through the chaos, we've managed to survive. So we're coming towards the end of this video now to round up the final right-hander. I just want to say a big thank you to everyone that tunes in to all my content. I'm absolutely loving doing YouTube at this point in my life. My life's absolutely changed around because of the majority of you guys and the support you give. So don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Again, big shout out to each and every single one of you. I'll catch you all in the next one. Cheers, guys. Peace.